Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another live episode of A Coffee with Chris. As always, this podcast is brought to you in association with Big C, who are our official charity partner. They help local people affected by cancer, and I'm delighted to welcome another special guest on the show today. He goes by the name of Rob Dodsworth, who is the founder of Brand Story Studio. Rob specializes in impactful brand photography to grow your business, helping you proudly market why you do what you do and how you do it with fresh confidence. Rob, welcome to the show. Why do people need to take their photography seriously for their brand? Come on.
Okay, why do we need to take it seriously? It's first impressions, isn't it? That's what it boils down to. I mean, I'm preaching to the converted, Chris. You could tell people because you've been a client. But it's about it's about getting your message out there, and you can have the greatest SEO, you can have the best copywriting, you can have it all. But if someone lands on your website and the visuals let you down, it speaks volumes about your business. And is that what you want reflected back at people? And it's a waste of money if you're spending all that money on, people like yourself for social media, website design, and the copywriting, like I say, to then have the visuals let you so badly down, especially in this day and age.
I think that's such a good opener, Rob, and really validates the importance of photography. The reason why I was so desperate to get you on is I'm sick and tired of businesses neglecting this area, because it isn't that difficult to solve the problem. And actually, it's so important. It's that visual element. And I'd actually listened to a statistic the other day that the human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than words, right? And so it's even more important for businesses to make sure that they invest in this area. And I can hear people saying, Rob, well, it's fine, I can just use my phone. And I'd really like to ask you about this iPhoneography versus professional photography. What's your take on both of those areas? And perhaps also, is there a balance to be had, Rob?
So, yeah, I think you've nailed it there. There is a balance to be had. It goes back to the point you made earlier. There's no excuse for not having photography. And there's ways to use your phone that can blend nicely with hiring a photographer. But if it's not every business can afford to at the start. I get that. But your iPhone can be great for behind the scenes kind of stuff. On the fly, some people do hire me to come out and work with them every other month kind of thing. But if you can't do that and you've got something that comes up and you want it covering, of course, like we've all got a camera in our pocket. Some people are better at taking phone photos than others, again. So I think you have to be careful how you're using that, because the quality it can let you down. I've seen this morning, I've had a couple of inquiries and I've been checking out some websites, and I've seen people have really great websites where they've obviously got great visuals and the graphics. They're using video, there's some stock photos. They're not bad stock photos, but they're a bit of a mishmash. And then you go to their about page and they're using phone photos of their staff and a group photo where people are hidden behind each other, and that's where it lets you down. That's where you're using iPhones, and and there are other manufacturers of phones. Just sorry, it's not the BBC, is it? But yeah, there's ways to use it, and there's ways that you should avoid using it. There's ways you can make your website or your visuals look worse.
Very refreshing answer, Rob. You would be well entitled there to go, no, iPhoneography, get rid. It's all about photography. But no, I think that's really important that you say that. I love your point about the behind the scenes content, but actually over and above all of the things that you said, if you are going to do your, as we're calling it here, your iPhone photography, you need to know how to take a picture, right? If not, it can actually do more harm than good. So it's all very well and good saying, yeah, it's fine to just use a phone for the behind the scenes stuff. But actually, if you don't know how to take a good picture on your phone, that can be more damaging. And Rob, you say a word there, you've teed me up nicely. It's almost like you've done this before. You said the word stock. And I really want to ask you a question on this, because lots of businesses sometimes also have to use stock imagery to a certain degree. But do you think it's important that maybe rather than waiting for a photography or visual challenge or problem, or they need a banner sorted, or they're going to an event, or they've got a website refresh, should businesses almost build a bank of photography before that problem comes along?
I think they can. I don't think a lot of people do, because again, it's quite often that they'll think logo design and get the website out there, and there's plenty of stock. You can use AI. There's all sorts of ways that you can populate your website with visuals now. But if you're using a mishmash of things, you're not maintaining consistency. So you're possibly sending mixed messages about your brand identity. Again, if you've paid a graphic designer, and I've had this has been the case with one of my clients. She actually sent me a message from her web designer saying, "Oh, wonderful, professional quality photos for a change," because that was obviously a web designer who's used to like breaking her back to build a decent website and then getting sent, I'm not going to swear, but rude word, insert photos. And that's got to be quite depressing if you're a graphic designer and you have built this beautiful website, and then again it's populated with photos that just don't do that justice. So yeah, I think that's the key. It's trying to maintain some sort of consistency, and skimping on that's a false economy as well. Because you've got to spend the time to source the stock photos. Whether that's yourself if you're a small business, or whether you're paying someone to do that for you. And you've got to think about what you're potentially losing as a result of not building out your own visual library, I suppose.
I'm totally with you, Rob. And actually, you can fall into the trap of accidentally using the wrong type of stock photography and actually get in trouble with that as well, because it's not all free, right? So you have to be quite careful. Again, it can be damaging to go down that route, not just in terms of how it looks, but actually legally. To scare people into it. But I just want to make a point loud and clear on this, like speaking obviously from a social media glasses are very well and truly on with this point. You need a consistent flow of fresh photography, guys. If you want to take your organic social seriously, you need to build a bank of photography. I'm completely biased. It's such an important thing to do. And to keep that refreshed over and over means that you don't have that delay of, oh, we need to do a flyer. We need to have a website refresh. We need a bunch of pictures of the team, for example. We need to put a job ad out. How do we show off our office and how it looks and our people and culture piece? Like, you can't do that without fresh photography. So definitely consider building your own bank of business stock, Rob. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you just reminded me. I'll pay you later, by the way. That's great. But that just reminded me, I've got a client who I'm in conversation with about doing some photography for, and they're recognizing the importance across. It's not just online. They're looking at their offline, and they've had, they've got company reports. They have to print their images as well, and they've recognized that they're using images from some from phones, so they don't look great printed out. Some of it's stock and some of it's from a photographer from years ago, and it's just not in keeping with where their brand's moved on to now. So they're thinking more broadly. They're thinking socials, they're thinking their print materials, and that's it. They're thinking bigger picture.
And this is the thing, Rob, when you invest in photography, this isn't just from a social media perspective. You're to coin a phrase, you're killing multiple birds with one stone, aren't you? Because you can use them in multiple ways. But Rob, also earlier in your previous response, you mentioned the seemingly dreaded phrase that everyone's using now, AI. So here we go. I'm sensing I might get a rant from you here. I think the other thing that our audience might be thinking, Rob, is they might be thinking, well, we'll just ask AI. We'll just ask AI to spit us out a load of photography that we can use for our business. Is that a valid cheat code, Rob?
So this is really complex. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, and I know we've only got maybe another 10, 12 minutes left. But you just look at how quickly that's advanced, and even just the last few months, you know, somebody sent me a meme the other day, you know, the AI accepting the job meme where all the hands are shaking. You remember that? You've seen that meme, and they've got like 100 fingers or whatever. That's not the case anymore. It's you know, in certain situations, it's even getting hands right. I saw a newspaper publish a photo. It was their journalist, and one picture was by the photographer. One was what they then fed that photo into AI, giving it a prompt. And, you know, I could tell it was dodgy because the like part of her, darn it, the screen's the wrong way around, isn't it? I can't get it. But and it's this here. I'm trying to flipping it. Damn it. But part of her ear was way up here.
Yeah.
So it was obvious that AI had messed up there. But if that's only if you're looking closely. My personal feeling about it is it's great for conceptualizing new ideas. You know, it can definitely save costs there. You can storyboard stuff with it. But I actually think, and we're already seeing it, you know, on LinkedIn and in the world at large, we're all starting to trust a little less. People are already fed up with AI generated comments, AI generated posts. They're really obvious, you know, if it includes a rocket in the words boost, you know, it's, you know, and we've all played with it. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't played with it. But I think there's already a slight turning of the tide. People, you know, I'd much rather have a comment left on a post of mine that somebody had thought through. And I think it's the same for the photography. I think people are going, the more advancement there is in AI, the more people are going to be questioning the reality of what they're seeing in front of them. And I think for certain businesses, especially those ones who do preach authenticity, you know, so service-based businesses, it's like if you're a gym or you're working in the healthcare sector and you're putting images out telling people about their healthcare and getting fit and looking good, and then you use an AI generated image, you know, that's the other reason I don't think companies like Nike will necessarily use AI in some of their campaigns, because it's the realism and the actual physical changes. But there will be companies for whom it will work. But then you get into all of the issues of, you know, there's class action lawsuits going off. There's Getty versus Stability AI and all the rest of it. There's issues with copywriting. So again, it's not a quick fix, you know. But that's about as ranty as I'm getting with it. I think it actually creates some opportunities for photographers, especially those who are going to be working with service-based businesses for whom they want to show off their people.
I love your point, particularly. That was all so good, Rob. Actually, it was a fascinating take, again, from a photographer's perspective. I love the point around conceptual stuff. I think that's quite important. And actually, you've kind of mentioned it there about, you know, the coming back the other way thing. And it was to, I think, that Daniel Priestley, who I saw at an event in London recently, uses the phrase that the pendulum always swings back the other way eventually, right? And actually, there is this desire for real, right? And that's actually cards on the table. This is exactly why we film this podcast as a live first, so people can really feel this real, authentic conversation.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, have you ever received a card from Moonpig, and it's they've typed it in and Moonpig have directly printed it?
Yes.
You appreciate that they might have been running out of time, and at least they've remembered. And I've used that service because, you know, remembering dates is not a strong point for me, anniversaries and birthdays. But it never feels quite as special as when someone's taken the time to write a handwritten note. And I think that's the difference. I think that there's it's the connection, isn't it? It's nothing new. Retouching photos is as old as the medium itself, you know. And there's there's ways that AI can help photographers. I think we have to, yeah, we have to use it responsibly. I think if you look at also like the effect it can have, things like deep fakes and
yes,
the you know, culturally the argument moreover, you know, yeah, we have, it's potentially a slippery slope, but I think it's interesting. I'm excited to watch where it goes.
Yeah, me too. And actually, the advancements will be interesting. And as you say, Rob, we could quite easily do a 2-hour podcast on AI and photography and ranting and raving, get excited about it. But just moving the conversation on, Rob, and the other sort of buzz phrase to talk about is personal branding and personal brand, right? And I'm really interested to know your stance on building a personal brand and why it's, you know, why it's important, I guess, to have, again, some really good quality photography. I'd really like to understand the power of investing in photography if you want to build your personal brand, if you want to become a thought leader in your industry. Is that something you would agree with? Would you disagree with?
So yeah, I mean, some people hate the words thought leader. They hate the words personal brand, don't they? And you know, again, we could debate that till kingdom come. I think what it boils down to again is so much of our communication is online, and you and I know each other, and so this feels comfortable to do. But when we first met, you knew me through photos of myself and the photos I'd taken, and that's how we came to work with each other, because we'd built up that trust. And personal brand, thought leadership, whatever you want to call any of these things, that's basically what it all boils down to. And it goes back to the point I made at the start, is like, if you've got this great looking website and then you stick a phone photo of you in a bar, you know, and crop it in and it's all pixelated and it looks crap, what message are you sending to your potential customer? Like, you've got to ask yourself, if you land on a website and it looks like that, do you trust that person values their business, and ergo do they value you as their customer? They might well be a great business owner and do a great job, but if there's somebody who's got a better looking website with better looking visuals and better copy, you're probably going to go with the person who's made more effort, because you'll trust that they're going to put that effort into your business likewise. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Trust. That's the word really that I've sort of caught out of that, Rob, and how photography speeds up, quality photography massively speeds up trust between your prospect and your client and your customers, right? And I have this with my clients so often, that they won't have any photography, for example, of how do they look when they are delivering the service, when they are doing the work, how does the customer journey look, all of that stuff, that, you know, you can really help speed up trust through quality photography. And essentially, I think that's a way of maybe linking that in with the whole personal brand piece, right? I'm not by any way, shape or form advocating that people just have all of these sorts of vanity shoots, right? You know, we're doing it for a purpose. And actually, speaking about that, Rob, we're all about doing organic social that's actually pointed towards commercial objectives, right? So we're not just posting for posting's sake. And I really want to ask you, what type of photography sells more products and services in your opinion?
I think it can depend on the product or the service, you know. So I work with an interior designer, for example, and the aesthetic that she wants might be very different to, I don't know, a lifestyle brand selling trainers, to, you know, because they're targeting different demographics. So I think you've got to start with what, you know, whenever I speak to anyone coming to me for photography, I want to know why, you know, why do you want the photos? What's the purpose? Because that's got to be this, you know, the starting point. What's the story they're trying to tell? And then using the visuals to communicate and and engage with their audience, turn their audience on. You know, it's making an emotional connection, isn't it? We're overwhelmed with visual content, absolutely. But, you know, good videos, good photography will always kind of cut through that. As I say, it goes back to the debate about iPhones versus professional. I think if you're using it well, I know some photographers who use iPhones brilliantly. And like I said, you know, I know some people who it ends up making their content look like garbage. Yeah. So if you have, you know, if you have an idea of who your client is and what story you want to tell, then a good photographer should be asking you those questions and working to storyboard, you know, the photography based around that.
I see this, Rob, as very similar to, so in the organic social media world, certainly, we want to be creating and publishing content that makes people feel something emotionally. You use that word emotion. And obviously, it's very well known that people are buying things and they're seeing things and buying things emotionally, then they're justifying it rationally, right? And so I think, without coming across as wishy-washy, and I'm happy for you to bully me out of this or challenge my perception opinion, I feel like photography needs to make you happy, sad. It needs to make you feel something. And this is why stock photography sucks so often, is that it doesn't make you feel anything.
Yeah.
I don't come across as wishy-washy, but did you understand what I mean by that point, Rob?
No, I totally understand what you mean. So a funny thing happened. It was a few weeks ago, and I saw two different companies use the same stock image. And it was somebody, it was a team meeting, and it was somebody writing on a whiteboard. And I've done that photo for you, but that's you, because you deliver training. These are not small companies. They had decent followings, and all I had to do was put that image into Google image search, and I could see where it originated from, who was the original user of it, and it's a stock photo. And I found it had been used dozens and dozens of times, but it came up in my feed twice on the same day with different companies, right? So and I think so that lacks the authenticity. It killed the emotion, and it was a stock image. It wasn't the team themselves. It was, you know, if I am doing team photography, I'm looking for connection between those team members when I'm taking, you know, when I'm taking photos in, even if it's just like a standard office, it's got to have something that says something about that team and how they work together, you know. Otherwise it just kills. It's not going to cut through. It's just,
again, I really subtract from that, Rob, a big bold warning sign that says be very careful with just relying on stock, because it can really be a brand detractor, right? And Rob, I want to maybe perhaps link to all of this, and we could go on and on and on and on and on. And thank you for all of the wisdom that you shared in this, Rob. I want to know, what are the mistakes, the traps, the errors that you see businesses, thought leaders falling into all the time with their photography? What are the mistakes you're seeing?
I think we've covered a lot of them, but, you know, if I was summing it up, it's inconsistent visuals. You know, there's nothing wrong with selfies or iPhones, but an over reliance on those when you're just posting selfies and it doesn't really have anything to do with the content of the post. I think I'm seeing a backlash to that as well. You know, we all know that, you know, the faces stop the scroll and that we connect to faces, but then some people are starting to question that as well. So I think if you rely too much on that, that can start to backfire. So then you need to have variety. You know, you need variety in your images. You know, you should be careful of over editing them. You've got to think across the board. As I said earlier, you've got to think, is it just mobile, or are you going to be printing these images? You know, what marketing channels are they going out on? What message are you sending? and a lack of variety sometimes, a real lack of variety, seeing the same things over and over.
So good, Rob. You've prompted and provoked much thought within the audience listening or perhaps watching this back. So thank you very much for your time today, Rob. I really appreciate you coming on.
Welcome, man. I just loved it. It's been good. It's been good to see you again.
Hopefully, everyone listening and watching back has taken some thoughts and feelings and ideas away with regards to your business's photography. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to A Coffee with Chris. As always, too, we'd like to say thank you to our official charity partner, Big C, who help local people affected by cancer. I'll see you this time next week.